Okay, thank you, Russ. Our featured layout this month belongs to Jim McHenry. Jim resides in Colorado Springs, and he moved there a few years ago from Minneapolis. On a personal note, Jim and I happen to share an interest in the same three hobbies: golf, skiing, and narrow gauge model railroading. Jim's early history in this hobby kind of mirrors the experience that most of us had. As far back as he can remember, there was a Lionel under the tree, Christmas tree, and then he bought an Athearn train set with a paper route money that in the late 50s, and he set up a 4x8 foot train layout in his attic. His modeling went dormant when he entered high school in the 60s. His interest was rekindled in the hobby in 1969 while serving in the Air Force in the Denver area. There, he did some four-wheeling in the mountains and drove the Denver-Salt Lake route over Rollins Pass several times, which started his interest in mountain railroading. He started modeling in N-scale and then rode the Cumbers and Toltec in the early 70s and got hooked on narrow gauge. He then began modeling in HON3 until 1999, and at the NMRA show that year, or convention, he bought a PBL short caboose kit. He converted to Sn3 and has never looked back since. His current Devonshire Timberline in Western is the fifth layout of this name and his third iteration in Sn3. The layout is quite large. In fact, it's enormous, and I've had the pleasure of seeing it several times. It is in the process of construction, and you will be impressed. Jim, over to you.
Thanks, Pete. Let me get my program up here. Okay, can we see this now?
No, are you sharing?
Oh, no, I didn't share. I'm sorry. Always something, eh?
Right.
Okay. Wrong share. You know, we went through this a couple of times, guys, and I still can't get it right. There we go.
Okay, we got it, but we
Okay.
need to hit slideshow.
Yeah. Problem is the bar is over my. Come on.
Track to the middle of your screen. Go up left.
Yeah, the problem is the bar is over the. Okay, try this.
Doesn't F5 bring up the presentation?
Ah.
I thought there was a hotkey for it. Maybe it's not that.
Okay, there we go. Now,
There you are.
there we go.
Sweet.
That should do it.
You the man.
Now you've got it.
Now we got it. Okay.
Okay.
As Pete said, this is my fifth iteration of the Devonshire Timberline in Western. And this iteration was prompted by my retirement about 6 years ago and our move from Minnesota to Colorado. We're looking at a in getting started, I had to set the parameters. I wanted a design for operation, even though a lot of the narrow gauges didn't have much in the way of operations or weekly operations, I'm bending time and space a little bit here and making the railroad work on a daily operating schedule. It's Sn3. I wanted a main line with at least 3 towns, a division point with engine servicing facilities, a commercial town with a number of diverse businesses, and a mining services town with ore processing operations. I wanted the layout to be able to operate loop to loop or a circular operation. I wanted branch lines or track complexes for 3 major industries. The first industry was a coal mining branch. Second, smelter operations. And number 3 was gold, silver, lead mining, as happened quite frequently here in Colorado. As far as layout standards are concerned, the control system is NCE radio control. The base track height at my main town of Devonshire is 51 inches. Max elevation at my coal mining town of Colver is 60 inches, and also at the end of the metals mining area is also 60 inches. I have 2 staging areas, one lower and one upper. The lower is 49 inches, and the upper goes over the lower at 57 inches. My lighting is 5,000 Kelvin LED strip lights, and the largest owned locomotives on the layout will be K27s. Now, that's not precluding anybody from bringing K36, K37, or even one of the new articulateds that PBL is going to bring out. But anybody that brings the stuff over must be warned that there might be some bridge loading problems with any of those larger locomotives. The track standards, hand laid code 70 on the visible main line. There are a couple of sidings that I'm going to lay in code 55. Code 70 flex track on hidden and staging tracks. Minimum radius is on the main line 30 inches, but mostly 32 is what I've got out there. Branch lines 28 inches, and the mining branch, which is Shea territory, is 26 inches. Grades on the main line, 1.5 inches, and, or excuse me, 1.5%, with 2.25% from my mining services town into the Montrose Loop. The coal branch will be 2%, and the mining branch, TINCUP mines, 2.5%. All of my turnouts are fabricated using fast tracks. I have a number 6 jig and a number 4Y jig. That's used throughout the layout. And on the TINCUP mines area of the layout, they are all stub turnouts, fabricated again with the fast tracks jigs. And then I've also got 2 3-way stub turnouts on the layout. Now, getting started, the first steps, obviously the main thing is territory acquisition. When we moved into the home that we're at here in Colorado Springs, my wife said, you know, I've got everything I need on the first floor in this new house. You can have the whole basement. And unfortunately, I didn't get that in writing. So I did have some restrictions that were put on what I had for layout space. The next thing that you have to do is take all of your measurements. For my wife and I had been looking at this model home for about 5 years before we actually moved here. And I had extrapolated all of the space measurements based on the promotional floor plans that were produced by the builder. Obviously, that's good for some general putzing around with the drawings, but you really need the actual final space measurements as they are in the house. That's a very important step, particularly because what I use to do my drawing is Third Planet, which is a drawing software designed for model railroading. I've been using it at least 15 years, maybe longer than that. It does have a bit of a learning curve to it, but after 15 years, I'm pretty comfortable with the basic drawing premise. And recently, in a recent iteration of the software, the developer of the software has put a feature in that allows the track plan to be converted to either roadbed splines or track splines, which can be sent to a CNC router or a laser printer to actually cut the roadbed material. And I'll explain a little bit more on what I did for that later on. I've done probably about half of my layout now using that process. This is the Third Planet. It's designed specifically for model railroading. It's full featured software, accurate track planning. If you're using easements, it'll place the easements for you automatically. It has 3D features that allow you to put in scenic features. It also has a train running feature in 3D that will allow you to, there are drawings out there that will allow you to take like a K27 that's been designed with Third Planet and actually put it on the rails with a full freight train and actually run your train on your layout. Now, the feature for this is it really does give you kind of a good idea when you start switching or running trains if you've actually designed yourself into a box. And then the 3D features do allow visualization of elevations, grade, scenic treatments. And again, the roadbed splines. And here's their website if anybody's interested. It's www.trackplanning.com. Okay, now that we have that stuff dealt with, the question was, how do I want to finish the room? The area which will, I have a space drawing here in a few slides, but the space was totally unfinished. When we moved here, I brought in a contractor, and I didn't have time because it was a builder spec home, didn't have time to have the builder finish it out. So I brought a construction guy in. He looked at it and said, well, it's about 850 square feet, so it'll cost you about 50 grand to finish it out. And I said, the Scotsman in me says, that's not going to work. So I did kind of a freestanding benchwork, backdrop, valence, and fascia support. And I've done a drawing, and again, I use Third Planet to do this drawing. What we have here, see if I can get the laser pointer on here. So I've got a 2x3 member going almost all the way to the ceiling. And then 2x3 members, and this is all freestanding, and it's supported by the legs that are coming down off of the front of the benchwork and the cross braces. And then to hang the valance out in front, I use just a standard shelf bracket and bring out to the edge of the benchwork to put the valance in. Now, if we have a much longer section, and I've got a couple of those in here, I actually run a wire from a hook on this support up to the ceiling joists. Again, these are 2x3s on the back. I put 1/8 inch masonite or hardboard on it, and then vinyl flooring over the top, which is what I paint the backdrop on. Now this, the vinyl flooring, the shiny stuff that goes on that you see on the floor is actually back against the masonite. This gives a nice matte finish to start the painting or the backdrop work on. And this is a look at exactly how that works. Obviously the masonite, the vinyl flooring, the shelf bracket, and the support arm coming out. Now these support arms don't have to be really strong because the lighting I'm using is LED strip lights, which weigh practically nothing. So the valance is very, very light construction. Don't have to worry about it too much. And then the last item that I had to consider, is there enough power to run what I want to do? What was in that room at the time we moved in was a 15 amp circuit that was shared with several of the other rooms in this basement. So I had an electrician come in and drop me 2 extra 20 amp circuits just for the railroad room, and they're both switched. Both circuits are switched as I walk in the room. So when I turn off those 2 light switches for those 2 circuits, everything that's connected to that is off. So if I've got a soldering iron plugged in and I forget to unplug it and I turn those switches off, that's dead. Okay, so now we get to the basement. This is a drawing that I did, again, it's done with Third Planet, showing the entire basement. The main train room is this area here. Excuse me. This area is the main train room. It's approximately 850 square feet. This bedroom is adjacent to the train room, and it's used right now for a workroom, and it's where I'm broadcasting from as we speak. And then this area here is also allowed for layout space. And I'll punch holes through this wall, and this wall to do everything for the layout. This is the actual final plan of what I drew for the space. I'm going to take you on a tour of it right now. We'll see each individual area as we go forward. This is the main entrance to the main layout room. As you can see, I've got some track here. This track is about 55 inches above the floor, so this will be a nod under. It's not going to be a crawl under or a creep under. It's a duck your head, Charlie type of entry to the room. First spot on the layout is, okay. First spot on the layout is the reverse loop end staging. This is what I call my Gunnison loop. It is 3 tracks. One track will be a mainline track for through trains. Actually, the loops will probably carry 2 standard size trains for this layout. But right now, the thought is 1 train in a staging for operations, and then 1 train I'm going to keep staged for through running on the layout. If I've got extra operators, they can run one train from the lower staging to the upper staging, and 1 train from the upper staging to the lower staging. I plan to have those 2 trains, extra trains. One will be an oil train with Gramps tank cars, and the other one will be a stock train. So this loop comes out into the main layout room. Main layout room entry is very messy as we look at it today. This is where you enter this is taken from the doorway to enter the room. The first aisle that we're going to do is down this way. And we are looking down that aisle right now. This is where the trains come in from the staging loop. Dang it. Okay. I did this to, this is a stream that's going to come across here. So I got a whole batch of cottonwoods up on the side of this stream that hide the entry to the railroad. When I get this finished, as I say, there will be a stream or river coming across here. This is going to my smelter operations, and it will be on a low pile trestle that goes around. Okay, this is the drawing of the town of Devonshire. The Devonshire is a division point. We have an arrival and departure track, a main line, and a caboose and coach track, 4 yard tracks that'll take up to 30 cars, and then this track on the outside is where I will make up the trains, and it will take up to 9 cars. You can also see here, we're going to have a sanding facility, coaling facility, and then an engine service facility. This is a 7-stall roundhouse. I will be using the Banter Ridgeway roundhouse for that facility. And with this, the main line goes around and comes up to what is the high line. So now we're going to go and we're going to look at the actual yard. The yard tracks are all in. I've got the stock train on the makeup track, and you can see the caboose and coach track on the back. This is the main line going through town, and as you see, I've got my oil train set up here. One of the things I'm going to do in this area along here is actually build a station platform. Obviously, there's not enough room for a station out here, and it'll just look like we've got the platform and the station is out in the Ethernet. Again, the area where the roundhouse is, I've got the Banta office warehouse building from Ridgeway that'll be here, 7-stall roundhouse. This is a Walther's turntable that I will convert to Sn3. Now we're going to go along to the High Line, which is just a mountain section to take me from the first town of Devonshire to the next town of Chamberlain. Again, the High Line goes along this very narrow section, all mountainous section. The first thing that we'll see when we come around the corner is we're going to have a section house and water tank. The water's there to add water to the locomotives to go up the grade. Again, this is a 1.5% grade. I've got the RGS trestles along here. This is 46A and B. And now we've got 46C, but I've got a little bit of a loading problem here as I don't have the support members all set to go here. Obviously, that will be fixed eventually. And then this is for shortened model of 46F. That'll be the final High Line bridge. The next area that we're going to go to is the town of Chamberlain. Before I do Chamberlain, I'm going to talk a little bit about backdrops. My layout, the way it's designed, is going to have about 200 feet of backdrop. I have a very good friend in Minnesota that painted the backdrop for me in Minnesota. Obviously, he's not here in Colorado Springs, and I miss his talents very much. So I started thinking about how I was going to do the backdrops. it gave me some consternation. And what I did one day is went on to the internet and looked up some YouTube videos of backdrop painting. Looked at some by Gil Bennett, looked at some by Chris Lyons, one of which is done in conjunction with our good friend in Canada. And thought, well, maybe I can do that. So what I did is I went to a local art school here in Colorado Springs and took about 11 hours of acrylic backdrop painting. And while I am no Picasso by any stretch of the imagination, what I've been able to provide to the layout really helped give it some depth. And for me, it's good enough. So here's the town of Chamberlain. I've done most of my backdrop painting behind the town of Chamberlain, and the town of Chamberlain is probably the most finished area on the layout. It will have operation locations for 12 car spottings, and it has 3 8-foot passing sidings. So now we're going to go over and look at the general view of the Chamberlain Bay. Town of Chamberlain, and then we come out on the other side there. This is Rags to Riches very fine J.J. Harris warehouse. That's going to provide spottings for at least 3 cars. Have the Banta Model Works B&M machine here. So this is what the town of East Chamberlain will, or this is what the east side of Chamberlain will be like. Central, again, a Rags to Riches Mancos Depot kit for the main area of Chamberlain. And this is downtown Chamberlain. I've got a couple of buildings here. A number of buildings are Rags to Riches. This building is a scratch-built building that I'm doing with Monster Model Works parts and also Grant Line parts. The inspiration for this is the Mining Bureau and Santa Fe Ticket Office from Leadville. It was a corner building with a store, with a front on one side of the street and a storefront on the other street. So this is my corner building. I've got another mock-up here for a three-story structure that I'm going to build using the Monster Model Works materials as well. The gas station here is a gift from a friend of mine. He did this as a COVID project. We are going to lower it so it's street side rather than perched on this blue sedimentary rock in the future. And then West Chamberlain will carry the Conoco oil facility and the FD Work warehouse. That is all of Chamberlain. Now, on the layout, we come around to Culver Junction. Culver Junction is where the main line splits off from, or splits off into the coal mining branch. And also, it will go through the canyon. Now the canyon, there will be a stream that will cut through here and go between the 2 lines here, and it'll be a deep canyon. And then as we come out of the canyon, this will widen out into an alluvial plain with a large timber trestle that will go around a good portion of this. This is the backdrop that I've got behind Culver Junction. And this is the coaling truss or coaling pockets that will fuel out of Chamberlain going on to the rest of the layout. Now, I took this picture this summer down in Cimarron near Crested Butte. Many of you have seen this, many of you know it. I like this scene, and that's why I am trying to build it in the canyon. So I've used members from a Central Valley kit, built my own trestle deck, made a few modifications to make it pin connected. Obviously, as you can see, it is not totally completed yet. I've got some more rod members to put in, and I've got to paint it, but this is what's going to go in on the canyon. And this is where it's going to go in on the canyon. So the stream will be between these two lines of track, and the stream will come out here, and this bridge will sit right here in a prominent spot. The next area of the layout is the town of TINCUP. The TINCUP is the mining services area, and it is the interchange for the TINCUP Mines Railroad. The town of TINCUP will consist of a depot, a stamp mill, an engine house, and then again, I've always liked the setup of the Uray engine house. So I've got a Uray engine house here, and we're going to put a turntable behind it. The main line will then come out of TINCUP, go up the hill, and go into the staging and reverse loop. Now, this is a model that I had on my layout in Minnesota. Unfortunately, as we were trying to reinforce it to ship it, a heavy object got dropped right in the middle of the bridge. So the bridge and the scenic treatment of it got destroyed. I'm going to try to use the bridge components that I've got remaining on the somewhere on that line up to the Montrose staging loop. And again, this is the Montrose staging loop. We've got a 3-track reverse loop. One is a through track, one is staging for the general operating train that goes back and forth, and one is staging for the through train extra. I also stuck in 2 staging tracks. I've got some RGS equipment, so I thought, okay, in the Montrose loop, we'll put RGS staging. And during an operating session, 1 or more RGS type trains will be bringing ore in to my layout to go over and be processed at the smelter. That's all of the main line. Now we're going to go to the branch lines. First branch line is the Fat Jack smelter. Rags to Riches brought out this beautifully big smelter that will create a lot of operating interest and a lot of operations for the layout. And basically, a train will be made up in the Devonshire yard to bring the ore, coal, limestone, and coke into the smelter area and take out the finished product, plus the smelter granulator produces some nice ballast for the layout, as does the slag. So we'll be loading slag down here on these, and they'll be coming out from the smelter. The unique name of the smelter is taken from my next younger brother. His nickname when he was at West Point was Fat Jack. So we've got the Fat Jack smelter. This is the smelter as it stands today. I have a large tendency of getting things partially done and going on to something else. This has been sitting here for a while, and it really does need to be finished. This is the backdrop painting that my friend in Minnesota did. This was saved from the layout in Minnesota. Another view of the Fat Jack. Oops. And I just moved over to the TINCUP mining district. The TINCUP mining district starts out at TINCUP. It services the stamp mill in TINCUP, but it also services some transfer tracks. The transfer tracks bring in on the main line any materials, coal, timbers, equipment, and they are transferred here. My theory is using 24-foot cars on the TINCUP mines, and so everything will have to be transferred. So it goes up a switchback, services the back of the stamp mill, and then comes into the other room and services the mining district with one major switchback here, and then it switches back. I'm servicing 5 mines and a tram pocket. And then this piece right here, I've decided to put a coal-fired electrical generation plant that will service these 2 mines, giving me a little bit of operating stuff. Okay, so now here is the roadbed that was produced using the Third Planet CNC router. Obviously, as you can see, the free flow that I had on the drawing is translated into the finished product here. This all has center lines cut on it, so I can use HOMA-BED or HOMA-ROAD or whatever the latest iteration of that product is. So this fits perfectly the HO scale road bed that I'm using. The track elements on the drawing are converted into layout segments, and that goes into a file, CNC router material. You can use just about any material that you want. I had him use 1/2-inch Baltic birch plywood. This could have been cut locally here, and I did do some research. It would have cost me $100 an hour to have it cut here locally, whereas Randy at Third Planet cuts it for $50 an hour, and the shipping, surprisingly enough, was not that expensive. Another look at this, all of the segments are keyed and fit together very, very nicely. I am extremely happy with how all this stuff has gone together. It's made it really easy, and between this and HOMA-BED, I don't have a whole lot of mess in the layout room right now. Again, this is a look at the TINCUP Mines Railroad. It's a Shea operation. Mine here, this is the power generation plant. Again, this is the end of the line. This is the last mine on the line, and obviously another rags to riches product. I like Joe's stuff. And then this is the other end of the mines, and it goes through a little hole in the wall here. to get into the other room. Okay, now we're going to go to the final branch line, and that's the Culver coal branch. And again, there's a story behind the Culver coal branch. Culver is an actual town in Western Pennsylvania. That is the town where my grandfather was a miner. That is the town where I was born in the company hospital. And so I'm transporting Culver from Western Pennsylvania to Colorado. Again, as I said earlier, 2% up to the coal branch. And then this is all about 60 inches. It's all flat terrain up here. I will have a turntable that will accommodate up to a C25 in the town. We will switch out to the mines, and I will also have a set of coke ovens like they had at Crested Butte. Actually, not like they had at Crested Butte, because those were very extensive. I'll have 6 coke ovens on the layout. This is the a picture of the bay where Culver will exist. As you can see, I've been busily putting up roadbed in the last couple of weeks. The mine is a BTS Cabin Creek coal mine. That'll be Culver coal number 1. And then this is the model that is in the museum in Crested Butte of the coke ovens outside the big mine in Crested Butte. This will give me a reason to bring boxcars or stock cars up to the Culver area to bring down coke from those areas, as the Rio Grande used stock cars, boxcars, whatever they had, to move the coke from Crested Butte. And then these are, this is just a mock-up. I'm trying to figure out where to put the company town. These are HO scale buildings. They are very much like the company houses that my grandfather and my uncle and all of their friends had in the town of Culver. So I'm going to put an HO town back a little bit from the main, so there's a little bit of forced perspective there. Okay, so we're back. Oops. Let me go back here. Okay, now we're back to the final plan. I got my 3 major towns. I got my division point. I got my loop-to-loop running. I got my precious metals mining branch. I got my coal branch, and I got my smelter operations. So I think that I have accomplished what I set out to do 6 years ago. And this is the rest of the roadbed for the rest of the layout. And this is the town of TINCUP now going in. And this is the back of the train. So that must mean this is the end. Guys, thanks for listening to me. I hope I didn't bore everybody too much. I know that this isn't the type of finished layouts you've seen the last 2 times, but it's a development project, and hopefully you guys enjoyed it.
Thank you very much, Jim. That was great. I know that in the past we've had completed layouts briefed, but I'll venture to say that probably the major portion of the people watching this are in the middle of construction, just like you are, or still dreaming about what they're going to build and how they're going to build it. So I think this is a very useful discussion you've had here. Just out of question though, how much of your main line can you actually run trains on now?
Well, you know, up until about 3 weeks ago, I was running trains from loop to loop because I had a temporary loop that slipped into the bay where Culver is.
Okay.
But a couple of weeks ago, I just said, you know, it's time to move along. So that piece has been cut. And my intention is right now to get myself to the point of going to or operating using the turntables in both Culver and TINCUP until I get the reverse loop finished in the other build or in the other the upper loop done.
Right. Boy, I tell you what, that project is intimidating. I think you're going to have to give up golf and skiing and concentrate on the railroad.
Wrong.
We have a question from Jim, Dr. Lenz, if you will. He wanted to know if you would be willing to share your 3PI file on OneDrive or Dropbox with those who would also use that program.
Oh, yeah, I can.
Okay, what should they do? Just send you an email?
Yeah.
Okay. And then someone wanted to know, what is the vertical separation of the staging loops?
8 inches.
Okay. What decoders are you using, and do you intend to keep the alive devices in your locos? You have keep alive devices in your locos.
Right now, everything out there is Tsunami, with the exception of the latest PBL Shay. And that's whatever PBL put in it. I'm not sure.
And do you put keep alives in everything?
I'm having keep alives put in, yes.
Okay. Okay, a lot of good comments, very inspirational. I'm not quite at the stage, but this should get me going. Well, thanks a lot, Jim. It was really a great presentation, and looks like we all need to come visit and lend a hand to get that project underway.
Well, Pete, you are always welcome as long as you don't ski over the back of my skis.
Right. Okay,
then I won't ski over the back of yours.
Okay, there's a long story behind that. Okay, thanks, Jim. Back to you, Russ.
All right. Thank you very much, Jim. I had the pleasure with, along with Dale Kreutzer a couple of years ago, to see this as you were just getting it started. You had a fair bit of it already done, and you've made a lot of progress since then. It's a big challenge. That's a big, big layout, but it looks like you're going to have a lot of fun doing it. Do you have anybody helping you?
Oh, I've got a few folks that occasionally come by and help. Gary Steffens down here in Colorado Springs. Doug Junda helps a bit. Actually, my brother helps when I need to transport some materials because he's got a bigger car than I do. Bill Osbach was the one that built the Conoco gas station, and he wants to come down and do a little bit of help. So there are a few folks around that are doing some work, but you know, for the most part, I'm just putzing along by myself.
All right, I guess that's what the hobby's all about, isn't it?
Yep.
All right, well,
Well,
great.
and it's been difficult. It's been difficult the last year and a half to get together with COVID going on to actually do any work.
Yeah. I mentioned earlier, I had 5 guys here today. I had 4 of them got here early enough. I put them to busy cleaning wheels. All of my rolling stock wheel sets are polished and ready to roll. And so the next week we'll be cleaning the engines and all of that stuff. But we'll have operating sessions here in the next month, easily. So it's time to get going, guys. It's good time. Other questions on any topic from Mitch Rands or Joe Piazza? 3 really great presentations tonight.
Wait, I got a question. Jim, this is Alan Pollock. I was just going to point out to you that you had an excellent guy that could help you, but you ran him down on the ski slopes the last time he was out there.
Yeah, well, that was payback for him running me down a few months earlier.
Oh boy.
All right, guys.
Except I hurt him worse.
Take it outside.
Hey, Jim,
Yes,
where did you get the roadbed made?
which roadbed? The plywood
Spline
spines or the
roadbed
homosote?
that you showed up.
The interlocking stuff.
The interlocking stuff. That was made by the guy at Third Planet based on the drawing that I did.
Okay, thanks.
So those hook together and you'll end glue them. Do you put any kind of a support to keep them dead flat without any vertical
Well,
curve?
yeah, I mean, part of what I had, I mean, they're kind of designed where you can actually lock them together and they'll probably stay pretty stable, particularly when they've got the supports under them. But what I've done to do it a little bit more securely is I'm taking 1/8" Masonite and putting a piece with 3 inches on either side of the joining, and then gluing that onto the underside of the roadbed.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Helps stability. It doesn't need a whole lot, but one of the keys that fits in, one day I was flexing it a little bit too much and it broke off, so I started using the Masonite underneath it.
Are you going to do any sound deadening in the sandwich that you're going to build up?
Well, I've got HOMOBED.
Okay, nothing in addition to that. Okay.
No.
Then I didn't notice any passenger trains.
I have a Pagosa Junction car, and I have a Chili line set, and that's the only passenger stuff that I've got at this point.
Okay.
I recall you said you had a coach track in one of your yards. So
It's a caboose and coach track, yeah.
Jim, why did you switch from the spline system you were using in Minnesota to this kind of hard surface material?
I couldn't hear that.
you're not coming in loud, Jeff.
Why did you switch from the spline system that you were using, in Minnesota, which, gives you a lot of freedom, to, is it based on the fact that you're using this CAD system?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have to worry about, by using the CAD system. I think once I'm happy with the drawing, the flow is perfect. And so, with trying to use the homosote splines or any other splines, I don't have to be, I get a little bit sloppy and it doesn't come out the way I really want it to come out. So that's what I was doing. That's why I went to that.
Does this CAD system build in its own transitions as well?
Yes.
Okay, I'm not going to ask for a show of hands about how many of you guys have finished your layouts. But will the three of you who've not started hold your hands up? Aha, very good. All right. Other questions, guys? Boy, we're not very talkative tonight.
In answer to your question, Russ, mine's finished, but we're about to tear it out and build a new one in there. So.
Ah, that's
I'm a
always
builder.
exciting.
I love building layouts. So that's what I do.
Very good.
I've got a general question. I've just discovered somebody who's making 3-foot 6-inch gauge South African Railways Bayer Garretts, and I've always loved them. And does anybody know if any of the manufacturers make 3-foot 6-inch or HON 3.5 flex track?
Well, I've never heard of it.
No, sounds like an opportunity to hand lay.
Hand switch, yes,
Sure.
Hey, this is Keith Stamper. Gerald,
yes.
you can buy HO track for a 3'6" Garrett. They make it.
No, but they make the Garrett with either 16.5-inch wheels gauge or 12 millimeter, and 12 millimeter is the real 3'6".
Yeah, but you can buy that.
You
You
can,
can buy that track.
you can
Isn't 12 millimeter TT? How big is TT?
Well,
I
no,
don't
it's
know,
actually
David.
near N, but it's not quite. And if you're going to be fussy, it's
Yeah.
nowhere near good enough.
No, N is 9 millimeters. So I think you're in the ballpark. Or you know what there is BMO HO meter gauge, which would be 3'3". For Swiss, they use
Yeah.
it for Swiss stuff, right?
Yeah, I think hand laying is really the only way to go.
It's better anyway.
It is.
Looks
My
like-
whole layout's hand laid. Hey, I posted a question for Jim McHenry about his roadbed. Hey, Jim.
Yes, I just see that. I see that
yeah,
now.
it's awesome. I love it.
To clarify, the roadbed is cut from 1/2 inch Baltic birch plywood.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's very, very stable. Randy on his website is showing 1/2 inch plywood. I think he's looking at that more for end scale or whatever. I specified 1/2 inch birch, and he was the one that cut it. As I said in my presentation, I checked around and found a guy in Colorado Springs that would cut it for me, but it would be $100 an hour machine time. Randy cuts it for $50 an hour machine time, and he also knows the interface backwards and forwards. So he didn't have the learning curve that the other guy would have. So I went with him, even though I would have to have it shipped here.
Okay, that makes sense. Thanks.
Yep.
All right.
Jim, when you say $50 an hour, what does that relate to, say, 8-foot length or something like that?
Neither one of them gave me an idea of how long it takes to cut this stuff. And for the most part, the 1/2 inch birch doesn't go 8 foot. I think Randy has, I think the longest sections are 32 inches. So whatever that translates down to, but some of it can be, very quickly cut. And when you're cutting the turnout pads, I'm sure that there's a lot of time involved with that.
I'll
Jim?
add a little bit on the cost there. I got some of that from Randy also when he first came out. And I got enough to do a 4-foot by 2-foot module with a single main line and about 3 little spur lines on it. And it was $40 or $50 total. And that was not on a per inch basis. That was a little high because there's kind of like a little setup charge, and then the cutting goes fast.
Well,
Jim, did he also cut your homosote?
No, I'm just using the roadbed myself.
No,
I'm just
asking
using
Jim
the Homa bed. I was using Cascade Rail Supply until he stopped, and I've just had a couple of orders from was it C&W or whoever this new guy is, and he's been very prompt, and the product is good, and it matches up with the Cascade Rail Supply. He calls his Homa Road rather than Homa Bed, but it's the same product.
Thank you.
Steve Cox, who was the Cascade guy, is building an SN3 layout, which will be ready for 2022. Similar to the rail lines in Nevada. Be well worth seeing. All right. Mark Lachey's got some things for us to look at about the next presentation next week.
Just want to say thank you to our presenters this month, Rich Rands from Berkshire Valley, Joe Piazza, and of course, Jim McHenry.
Okay. Who's got a copy of the schedule right in front of them about next month? Oh, here we
There it
go.
is.
Good.
We will see Johnny Graybeal do an in-depth presentation on the 41st Narrow Gauge Convention. Then Al Collins will be doing a clinic on weathering wood. And then our layout will be Dick Jorgensen's HON3 Colorado and Rio Grande Southern.
Okay.
Remember to get our photos in. So if anybody has photos that you want to see shared in our preview portion of the program, send those out to Dave Adams. You can find Dave's email information in the NNG directory that's part of the group's IO contact. Remember to sign up for the 41st National Narrow Gauge Convention. We'll look forward to seeing everybody down there. And for those who want to stick around for a few minutes, we will continue to leave the line open if folks just want to chit chat.